Welcome to a new episode of Immigration Fridays. I'm your host, Prashanti Reddy, and we're here again to explore the ever evolving landscape of US immigration law. This week, we will talk about international students and what they can expect under the Trump administration. Under the Trump administration, let's go point by point. We can expect that students will have to face more scrutiny and there will be more focus on security. So experts say that immigration policies under the Trump administration will be more security focused rather than benefits focused. So students' mobility or movement will be seen as a security threat rather than an opportunity to develop and to grow the economy. We can also expect changes to OPT and STEM OPT extensions. In fact, under his previous administration, the Trump administration did try to limit OPT durations, and they tried to eliminate or restrict the STEM OPT altogether. Under the new government, we can expect more of the same. So they might put a limit on OPTs, post-completion OPTs, as well as try to restrict or completely remove the additional 2-year STEM OPT period. And this will affect everyone. It'll disrupt in career paths. It will, also undermine the chances of the U.S. to become a global economy. So it has many issues if this happens. We can also expect under the Trump administration there'll be a higher denial rate of H-1B visas and H-4 visas. How does this affect students? This does affect students because once they complete their degrees, most of them apply for H1s, and if they're not able to, then a lot of students would not come into the country because they come into the country to study, and not only to study but to work in the US as well. And the H1B denial rates under the Trump administration was 24 to 25%, and under the Biden administration it's only 5%. And in fact, the RFE rates were over 60% under the Trump administration. So we can expect more of the same under the new second term of the Trump administration. Also, there will be an issue for H-4 visas, and these are spouses of the H-1 visas. So if a student is converting to H-1, their spouses can be in trouble also because H-4 EADs, which was authorized under the Obama administration, can be removed under the Trump administration. In fact, under his first term, he did try to remove H-4 EADs, but he did not succeed in doing so, so he might try to do so again. Also, previously, the Trump administration tried to publish a rule which would limit the duration of stay for the students. Right now, there is no duration of stay, it is simply DS. So they can continue to stay in the country as long as they are students and maintain their status as a full-time student. The Trump administration has proposed to limit this to 4 years and even 2 years under certain conditions for certain countries. And they also want to add administrative and financial requirements for extensions. So for students with degrees more than 4 years, for example, if they're doing a PhD, then this will cause uncertainty for those students because they do not know whether they will get an extension at the end of the 4 years. Also, there will definitely be more vetting. There will be extreme vetting for high-risk countries, and this will include vetting for students as well. So all those students coming from China, Iran, Middle East, some of the other Muslim countries will face extreme vetting and delayed in their processing times with USCIS, and they will ask for more documents. There will also be delay in the visas, issuance of visas, and in some instances there will be denial of those visas as well. And going into denials, you can expect higher denial rates of F1s, H1s within the US as well as denial rates in visas. So almost 50,000 students from Africa come to the US every year, and there is an 18% increase of those students in the last from 2022 to 2023, and the higher denial rates are unfortunately are country specific. So they could be for people from Africa and also from Asia, and that includes India as well. So there will be a disproportionately high denial rate in the visas for students from these countries. Return of the unauthorized presence rule. So right now, students, as long as they maintain their status as full-time students, and only if an immigration judge or USCIS says that they're out of status, only then they become out of status. Trump wants to return to a rule that he proposed or tried to implement in 2018, whereby students would accrue unauthorized presence even without USCIS saying so. And this would cause chaos among students. This policy was opposed by many universities, and several lawsuits were filed, in fact, in 2020. And a judge blocked this policy, saying it was inconsistent with existing immigration law. So he might try to change that as well again in his next term, and make unauthorized presence into an issue, and accruing of unauthorized presence into an issue for students as well. So basically, if for some reason they don't meet the terms and conditions as a student, then USCIS can say at a later time that they didn't meet the terms and conditions as a student, and they have unauthorized presence for more than 6 months, and they can bar them from coming into the country, and they can do this retrospectively. Right now, that isn't the case. It's only duration of status. So until USCIS says they're out of status, no student is out of status or accrues any unauthorized, so that could change. But there can be some positive things as well. Despite the uncertainty, the benefits that I could see, one benefit from Trump coming into power for the students. Trump promised green cards for graduates. He said he would give green cards to international students graduating from US universities, and he said this would attract talent, but he said it came with conditions, and graduates would have to undergo aggressive vetting, and priority would be given to high-skilled individuals who don't displace American workers. This, of course, can be really good, and it could be something that Canada and UK already has as a pathway for immigration. But whether we can believe that he will do this or not is a different story. He has said many things, and based on his previous term, we have seen that all his immigration policy have been restrictive. So a lot of experts believe that he will not actually implement or take action on what he says. During Trump's presidency, he not only tightened H-1B visa eligibility, he tried to deport international students when they were taking online classes due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But of course, they reversed that policy later when, again, universities spoke out against it. He also tried to limit OPT extensions, as I said earlier. He implemented policies like Baha and Muslim bans. Baha is Buy America, Hire America, so that kind of led to a lot of visa denials. So we can only expect more of the same in his next administration unless there is some drastic change in his thinking or in his administration's thinking, which we have not seen as yet. Everything that we've seen is pointing towards, more restrictive immigration policies. So what tips? Are there any tips for students now? And how do they adapt to the changing landscape? One way they can adapt is to stay informed, always stay informed. Knowledge is power. Make sure you follow DHS, US Embassy, and university announcements and websites. Regularly check with your college DSO to see if there are any changes in the law. Attend university-held events with reference to immigration. Get expert from a legal advice, from an immigration attorney. Take a consultation if you're not sure what the law is. Experienced immigration attorneys can always provide you with guidance on what the policy is and if there are any alternative visa options for you. Plan for delays and extra scrutiny on your immigration application process. So file ahead and always file with all the documents possible and extra documents if required. Don't send out skeleton petitions. Build your profile so that your skills and experience help you be valuable to your employer, right? So that your employer can help you, then apply for a H1, get a job, apply for a green card, etc. If none of this works, always have a plan B. Look elsewhere, into other countries, to Canada, Australia, UK to study or to work. Look into other work statuses and green card alternatives such as the O1, extraordinary ability, E2, TN visas, H1B1, EB1A, etc., etc. And you can talk to your, to an immigration attorney to see. EB5 is also one option. So you can talk to an immigration attorney to see if any of those visas are applicable to you. Get involved in advocacy. Take support from your institution. Join student advocacy groups, but in a safe way, and always follow the law. And advocacy leads to real change. So join campus initiatives, connect with campus groups, student organizations, and help bring about that change. Be ready for any possible changes. Beware of what the immediate changes are likely to be. For example, day one CPT. Be aware that day one CPT will be under scrutiny, has always been under scrutiny, but will be under more scrutiny under the Trump administration. What is day one CPT? Day one CPT is allows students to work as soon as they start school. And many students make use of this to extend their employment opportunities or options if they don't get picked under the H1B lottery. So you have to always make sure that you comply with day one CPT rules, and if once Trump comes into power, use it sparingly. And with that, it's a wrap for Immigration Fridays this week. Immigration laws, as you know, can be complex and difficult to understand. If you need help with understanding the processes or with filing a case, do drop me an email, prashanti@readyesq.com, or you can call us at 212-354-1010. Thank you for listening.